With that, he walked off the platform and toward the exit. His footsteps. 3 days had passed since the council meeting. Ambassador Tay sat in his quarters on Station Prime, reading reports from home. The small room was simple but comfortable. A bed, a desk, a window that looked out at the stars. It was all he needed. A soft chime sounded. Someone was at his door. "Enter," Tay said, setting down his tablet. The door slid open, and a young woman stepped inside. She wore the uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps, dark blue with silver trim. Her name was Minji, and she served as Tay's assistant. "Ambassador," she said, "you have visitors. Several counselors are requesting a private meeting." Tay raised his eyebrows. "Which counselors?" "Myra of the Solani, Thren of the Korthi, and 2 others. They say it is urgent." This was unexpected. Tay had thought the council would need more time to process what they had learned. Clearly, some were more curious than others. "Show them to the meeting room," he said. "I will join them shortly." Minji nodded and left. Tay stood and straightened his suit. He looked at himself in the small mirror on the wall. His face was calm, as always. But inside, his mind was racing. What did they want? Were they planning something? Or were they seeking answers? He walked to the meeting room, a larger space with a round table and chairs designed for various body types. The 4 counselors were already there, waiting. Counselor Mira glowed softly. Her light form settled in a chair made of crystal. Counselor Thren stood on his many legs, his shell clicking quietly. The other 2 were Counselor Bren of the Mirai, a species of tall beings with gray skin and large eyes, and Counselor Sola of the Tithany, small creatures covered in soft fur. Tay entered and bowed politely. "Honored counselors, thank you for coming. How may I help you?" Myra spoke first. "Ambassador, we have come to ask questions. After your presentation, we have been unable to think of anything else. We need to understand." Tay sat down at the table. "I will answer what I can." Threm leaned forward, his mandibles clicking. "How did you build such a fleet without anyone knowing? Our intelligence networks span the galaxy. We have spies everywhere. How did humans hide 12 million warships?" Tay smiled slightly. "It was not easy. But humans are very good at keeping secrets. We learned this skill through thousands of years of history. On Earth, nations competed with each other constantly. The ability to hide your strength was often the difference between survival and destruction." He folded his hands on the table. "When we entered space, we knew the same rules would apply. So we built in hidden places, asteroid belts, gas giant moons, deep space stations far from any travel routes. We used resources that others ignored. We worked slowly and carefully, generation after generation." Counselor Bren's large eyes blinked slowly. "But why? Why go to such effort? You could have announced yourselves and joined the galactic community openly. Could we?" Tay asked. "Look at what happened when the Valari discovered our colony on Titan. They did not try to talk to us. They did not ask for trade or friendship. They simply attacked. If we had revealed our true numbers before we were ready, how many species would have done the same?" The counselors exchanged glances. They did not argue the point. They all knew the answer. Counselor Sola spoke in a soft, gentle voice. "I have read about your species, Ambassador. Your history is filled with violence. Wars, conquests, empires rising and falling. Many fear that if humans are as powerful as you claim, you will try to conquer the galaxy." Tay nodded slowly. "That fear is understandable. Our history is indeed violent, but it is also a history of growth and learning. We have made terrible mistakes. We have caused great suffering, but we have also built great things. Art, music, literature, science. We have loved and dreamed and reached for the stars. He leaned forward. Yes, we know how to fight. We are very good at it. But we do not enjoy it. Every war in our history left scars that took generations to heal. We do not want more scars. We do not want more pain. Then what do you want? Meyer asked. Tay thought carefully before answering. We want to be left alone to live our lives. We want to explore the universe and learn its secrets. We want to meet other species and exchange ideas. And yes, we want to be respected. Not feared, but respected. We have earned that right. Thren made a sound that might have been a laugh. You have certainly earned our attention. The council has been in chaos since your speech. Vex is furious. He demands war, but no one will support him. The other Valari leaders are divided. Some want to fight. Others want to negotiate. And what do you want? Tay asked. Why are you here? The four counselors looked at each other. Finally, Mira answered. We represent a group within the council that believes in peace, she said. Not all species are like the Valari. Some of us remember what it was like to be young and vulnerable. Some of us have suffered from the aggression of others. We do not want more conflict. We want understanding. Bren nodded, his gray head moving slowly. The Mirai were once a conquered people. The Valari dominated us for centuries. We only gained our freedom through patience and sacrifice. We know what it means to be underestimated. The Tethani are not warriors, Sola added quietly. We are scholars and scientists. We have always preferred knowledge to violence. When we heard your words, we saw an opportunity. A chance to build bridges instead of weapons. Tay felt a warmth in his chest. These were not enemies. These were potential friends. The galaxy was not all darkness and danger. There were lights here, small but precious. I am glad to hear this, he said. Humanity has hoped to find allies among the stars. We did not expect to find them so quickly. Do not misunderstand, Thren said, his tone cautious. We are not offering alliance. Not yet. We need to know more. We need to trust you. And that trust must be earned. I understand, Tay replied. Trust takes time. We are prepared to be patient. Myra flickered with curious light. Tell us more about your people, Ambassador. Not your military, but your culture. Your lives. Who are humans when they are not fighting? Tay smiled, a genuine smile this time. That is a long story. Where should I begin? For the next several hours, they talked. Tay told them about Earth's history, its nations and peoples. He described the great cities, the wild forests, the endless oceans. He spoke of human art and music, of the stories they told and the dreams they dreamed. He explained their religions, their philosophies, their endless search for meaning. The counselors listened with growing fascination. They asked questions, made comparisons with their own cultures. They laughed at some stories and were moved by others. Slowly, the barriers between them began to fall. You are not what we expected, Sola said eventually. When we first learned of humans, we were told you were primitives, barely civilized, dangerous animals who had somehow learned to build ships. Many still believe that, Tay said. The Valari certainly do. The Valari believe many things that are not true, Thren replied. They see themselves as the greatest species in the galaxy. Everyone else is beneath them. This pride has made them blind. Will they accept peace? Tay asked. Or will they push for war? Myra's light dimmed slightly. We do not know. Vex is powerful, but he is not the only voice among his people. The defeat at Titan was a great shock. Many Valari are questioning their leaders. Change may come, but it will be slow. Then we must give them time, Tay said. We will not attack. We will not threaten. We will simply wait. Eventually, even the proudest will accept reality. The meeting ended late in the station's night cycle. The counselors left with new thoughts in their minds and new feelings in their hearts. They had come seeking answers and had found something more. They had found hope. Tay returned to his quarters exhausted but satisfied. Minji was waiting for him with a message from Earth. "Admiral Day wishes to speak with you," she said. "He says it is important." Tay nodded and activated the communication device on his desk. The hologram of a stern-faced man appeared. Admiral Day was the commander of Earth's combined fleets, the most powerful military force ever assembled by humanity. He was old, with gray hair and deep lines on his face, but his eyes were sharp as ever. "Ambassador," Day said, "I have received your report." The council's reaction was as expected. "They are frightened," Tay replied. "Some are angry, but a few are willing to talk. I believe we can build something here." "I hope so," Day said, "because we cannot fight the entire galaxy. Our strength is great, but it is not unlimited. If every species unites against us, we will eventually fall." "They will not unite," Tay said confidently. "They hate each other almost as much as they fear us. The Valari have too many enemies. The Council is too divided. We just need to be careful." Day nodded slowly. "I trust your judgment, Ambassador, but know that the fleets are ready. If negotiations fail, if war becomes unavoidable, we will fight. And we will not stop until victory is ours." "I understand," Tay said. "Let us hope it does not come to that." The hologram faded, and Tay was alone again. He walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, millions of human ships waited in silence. Billions of soldiers trained for battles they hoped would never come. An entire species held its breath, waiting to see what the future would bring. Tay placed his hand on the cold glass. "We have come so far," he whispered. "We cannot fail now." The stars gave no answer. They only watched, ancient and unchanging, as the drama. 1 week after the revelation, the Galactic Council met again. This time, the chamber was even more crowded than before. Word had spread across the galaxy. Every species wanted to see what would happen next. Would there be war? Would there be peace? The fate of billions hung in the balance. Ambassador Tay stood on the central platform once more. He wore the same simple black suit, his hands clasped behind his back. He looked relaxed, almost peaceful. But inside, he was preparing for the most important moment of his life. The Chamber Master rang its crystal bells. "This session will now begin. We gather to hear the final response of the Galactic Council regarding the human situation. Counselor Vex, you may speak." Vex rose from his seat. The Valari leader looked older than before. The past week had not been kind to him. His forearms moved stiffly, and his black eyes had lost some of their fire. He had spent many sleepless nights consulting with his government, arguing with his allies, and facing the terrible truth of his situation. "The Valari Empire," Vex began, his voice carefully controlled, "has considered the matter carefully. We have consulted with our military advisors. We have analyzed the data provided by the human ambassador. We have reached a decision." The chamber held its breath. Vex paused. His pride demanded that he say something defiant. His anger wanted him to declare war. But his intelligence, his survival instinct, knew better. "We accept that the attack on the human colony was made without proper consideration," he said. The words seemed to cause him physical pain. "The Valari Empire is prepared to offer compensation to those affected. We will begin negotiations for a formal peace agreement." Gasps filled the chamber. No one had expected this. The Valari never admitted wrong. They never offered compensation. This was a complete reversal of everything they stood for. Tay allowed no emotion to show on his face. He simply nodded respectfully. The human government welcomes this decision. We are prepared to negotiate in good faith. Councilor Myra flickered with bright light. This is a historic moment. For the first time in 3,000 years, a major conflict has been avoided through diplomacy rather than war. The council should recognize the wisdom shown by both parties. Other councilors murmured in agreement. The atmosphere in the chamber began to shift. Fear gave way to relief. Tension eased. Some even began to think about the future, about the possibilities that peace might bring. But the moment was interrupted by a signal from outside the chamber. The communication systems of Station Prime were receiving a transmission. It was coming from human space. "Ambassador," said the chamber master, "there is an incoming message for you. It appears to be urgent." Tay frowned slightly. This was not part of the plan. He had not expected any communications during the session. "May I receive it here?" The chamber master nodded. A holographic screen appeared above the platform. Visible to everyone in the chamber, the face of Commander Hana appeared on the screen. She was a young officer with sharp features and determined eyes. Behind her, the bridge of a warship was visible, crew members moving at their stations. "Ambassador Tay," Hana said formally. "I am Commander Hana of the Second Fleet. I have been instructed to inform you and the Council that we are currently entering the outer regions of galactic space." The chamber stirred with confusion. What was happening? On whose orders? Tay asked, though he already knew the answer. "Fleet Admiral Day," Hana replied. In response to the Velari threat, the Admiral ordered the repositioning of 3 armadas. The 2nd, 5th, and 9th armadas are now within striking distance of Council space. "We await your orders, Ambassador." The hologram expanded to show the view outside Hana's ship. The councilors watched in stunned silence as the image revealed not just one ship, but thousands. The 2nd armada stretched across space in perfect formation. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, carriers, all moving together like a single living organism. 42,000 vessels ready and waiting, Hana continued. The 5th and 9th armadas hold position nearby. Combined strength, 130,000 ships. We are prepared for any outcome. Vex rose from his seat, his face twisted with fear and rage. "This is a threat. You position your fleet to intimidate us while pretending to negotiate peace." Tay raised one hand calmly. "It is not a threat, Counselor. It is a precaution. When you demanded our surrender, we had to prepare for the possibility that you would follow through on your threats. The armadas were repositioned as a defensive measure. Nothing more." He turned to face the hologram. "Commander Hana, please inform Fleet Admiral Day that the Council has agreed to negotiate peace. The armadas may stand down." Hana nodded. "Understood, Ambassador. Shall we withdraw to our previous positions?" "No," Tay said after a moment's thought. "Maintain current position until a formal agreement is signed. There is no need to rush." "Acknowledged." Commander Hana out. The hologram faded. The chamber was deathly silent. The counselors stared at the empty air where the image had been, their minds struggling to process what they had seen. 130,000 warships. 3 armadas. And those were just the ones humanity had sent. Millions more waited in human space. The full weight of human power had been revealed, and it was beyond anything the galaxy had ever imagined. Counselor Thran made a clicking sound that might have been nervous. Laughter. "Wow, I believe we now understand the situation completely." "Indeed," Mira agreed, her light flickering rapidly. "The humans have made their position very clear." Tay stepped forward, addressing the entire council. "Let me be clear about something. We did not build this fleet to conquer. We did not prepare for war because we wanted war. We did it because the universe is dangerous, and we learned that lesson the hard way on our own world. He walked slowly around the platform, meeting the eyes of counselors from every species. Humans have a saying, speak softly and carry a big stick. It means that the best way to ensure peace is to be strong enough that no one dares attack you. That has been our philosophy. We hoped we would never have to reveal our strength. We hoped we would find a galaxy of friends. He stopped and faced Counselor Vex directly. Instead, we found a galaxy of dangers. Species that conquer and enslave. Empires that destroy without mercy. Powers that see kindness as weakness. So we prepared. We built our ships and trained our soldiers and waited. And when you came to Titan, we were ready. Vex could not meet his gaze. The Valari leader sat down heavily, defeated in a way that weapons could never achieve. But now, Tay continued, his voice softening. We have a chance to change things. The old ways do not have to continue forever. We can build something new. A galaxy where strength protects the weak instead of preying on them. Where species work together instead of fighting. Where peace is not just the absence of war, but a true partnership. He turned to face the assembled counselors one final time. Humanity offers this choice to the council. Work with us and we will share our knowledge, our resources, our protection. Oppose us and we will defend ourselves without mercy. The choice is yours. The chamber remained silent. No one spoke. No one moved. The words of the human ambassador hung in the air like a judgment from the stars themselves. Finally, the chamber master broke the silence. This council will now vote on the proposal for peace with the human species. All in favor? Lights appeared across the chamber as councilors cast their votes. One by one, species that had been enemies for centuries voted together. Myra and Thran and Sola voted yes. Even Bren of the Mirai, who had once been subjects of the Valari, voted yes. Vex hesitated. His pride screamed at him to refuse. But he looked at the empty space where the human fleet had appeared. He thought of the millions of ships waiting in the darkness. He thought of his people, who would die by the billions if war came. Slowly, reluctantly, he raised his hand. The Valari vote yes, he said. The words were barely audible. The chamber master's crystal form rang with pure, clear tones. The vote is unanimous. The Galactic Council accepts peace with the human species. A new chapter begins today. On the platform, Tay allowed himself a small smile. He bowed to the council, a deep bow of respect and gratitude. Thank you, he said simply. You will not regret this decision. Outside Station Prime, the stars continued their eternal dance. Somewhere in the darkness, 130,000 human ships waited in silence. Their weapons were ready. Their crews were prepared. But they would not fire. Not today, not far away, on a blue and green world called Earth. People looked up at the sky and wondered about the future. They did not know the details of what had happened. They only knew that their representatives had gone to meet the aliens, and that somehow, peace had been achieved. In her office on Titan, Admiral Yuna received the news and wept with relief. She had lost so many good people in the battle. Their sacrifice had not been in vain. Young June, the communications officer who had worked without sleep during the crisis, finally went home to his family. His mother held him tight and thanked the stars that he was safe. Commander Hana stood on her bridge, watching the stars. She thought about the future, about the new worlds they would explore, the new species they would meet. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders. Humanity was only beginning to discover them, and Ambassador Tay walked out of the council chamber, his work complete. The council chamber remained frozen for what felt like an eternity. Ambassador Tay stood on the central platform, his hands folded behind his back. He watched the faces of the alien counselors as they processed what he had told them. He saw fear in some eyes, anger in others, and in a few, something that might have been respect. Counselor Vex was the first to recover. He rose from his seat, his forearms gripping the edges of his desk. His black eyes had regained some of their fire. He was a leader of the Valari Empire, and he would not show weakness before these lesser beings. "You lie," Vex declared. His voice echoed through the silent chamber. "This is a trick. Humans are known for their deception. You show us fake numbers and fake images to frighten us." Tay raised an eyebrow. "You believe so?" "I do," Vex said firmly. "No species could hide such a massive fleet. Our scouts would have found them. Our spies would have reported them. You have been watched, human. We know your capabilities." Several other counselors nodded. The initial shock was wearing off, and they were beginning to think again. The Korthi representative clicked his mandibles in agreement. "The Valari has a point. Intelligence from multiple sources indicates that human space is sparsely defended. Your colonies are small. Your technology is primitive compared to ours." Tay smiled slightly. "And where did this intelligence come from?" The Korthi hesitated. "From various sources. Trade ships, diplomatic envoys, standard observation." "I see," Tay said. "And these sources only saw what we wanted them to see. We are quite good at keeping secrets, Counselor. Humans learned long ago that the universe can be dangerous. We do not show our strength to strangers." He walked slowly across the platform, his footsteps echoing in the vast chamber. "Consider this. 200 ships held off 800 Valari warships for 3 weeks. We destroyed 700 of your vessels and lost 100 of ours. Those are remarkable numbers, are they not?" "A lucky victory," Vex spat. "Nothing more." "Perhaps," Tay agreed. "Or perhaps your intelligence was wrong from the beginning. Perhaps you underestimated us because you wanted to believe we were weak. It is a common mistake among those who think themselves superior." Councilor Myra of the Solani flickered with golden light. "Ambassador Tay speaks with confidence. But confidence alone means nothing. If humanity truly has such power, why have you hidden it? Why not announce yourselves as equals to the great civilizations?" Tay turned to face her. "Because we are not fools, Counselor. We are young. We have only been traveling among the stars for 300 years. You have done so for millennia. If we had revealed our true strength, what would have happened? Would you have welcomed us as friends? Or would you have seen us as a threat and united to destroy us before we grew too powerful?" The Solani representative did not answer. She did not need to. Everyone in the chamber knew the truth. They would have attacked. Of course they would have. "So you hid in the shadows," said Counselor Thren of the Korthi, his voice filled with something almost like admiration. "You built your forces while pretending to be weak. You let us believe we could crush you whenever we chose. And all the while, you were preparing for the day when someone finally attacked." "Yes," Tay said simply. "That day has come. We did not want it. We hoped for peace, but we were always ready for war." The chamber fell into heated discussion. Counselors argued with each other in their native languages. Some demanded proof of human claims. Others called for immediate military action. A few suggested negotiation. The noise grew louder and louder until the chambermaster had to ring its crystal bells for silence. When order was restored, Counselor Vex stood again. His face was hard with determination. He had made a decision. "The Valari Empire does not retreat," he announced. "We do not fear human lies. The attack on our fleet was an act of war, and we will have justice." He pointed one of his arms at Tay. "I demand that the human species surrender unconditionally to this council. You will give up your military. You will open your borders. You will accept punishment for your crimes against the Valari people. If you refuse, we will take by force what you would not give in peace." Tay listened calmly. When Vex finished, the human ambassador sighed softly. It was a sound of disappointment, not fear. "Counselor Vex," Tay said, "I must be honest with you. When I came here today, I hoped we could find a peaceful solution. I hoped that wisdom would overcome pride. I see now that I was too optimistic." He paused and looked around the chamber. "You demand our surrender. You threaten us with force. You believe that you are strong and we are weak. Let me tell you something about humans." Tay's voice grew harder. It was still soft, but there was steel beneath the words. "We are a stubborn species. We do not surrender. We did not surrender when we fought each other on our own world. We did not surrender when we faced the darkness of space. We will not surrender now." He reached into his pocket and pulled out the silver device again. "You want proof of our power? Very well. I will give you proof." He pressed the button. Above the platform, a new hologram appeared. This time, it showed a live feed from human space. The image was crystal clear, transmitted across thousands of light years by technology the Council had never seen. The hologram showed a massive space station orbiting a red dwarf star. The station was shaped like a ring, large enough to fit a small moon inside it. Surrounding the station were ships, thousands of them. They moved in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with weapons and armor. "This is Fleet Command 7, Tay said. "It is one of our smaller installations. What you see here is the 9th Armada, approximately 30,000 vessels. They are currently conducting training exercises." The counselors stared in disbelief. The 9th Armada alone was larger than any fleet in the galaxy. The hologram changed to show another location. A blue planet surrounded by a belt of defensive satellites. More ships gathered there, these ones even larger than before. "The 2nd Armada," Tay explained. 42,000 vessels. They guard our inner colonies. Another change. A field of asteroids converted into weapons platforms. Ships the size of cities floated among them. The 5th Armada. 58,000 vessels. Our fastest response force. Vex's mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. He could not speak. He could not think. He could only watch. "And this," Tay said as the hologram shifted one final time, "is the 1st Armada, stationed at Earth itself. 100,000 vessels. The pride of our species." The 1st Armada filled the hologram. Ships beyond counting. Carriers that could hold entire armies. Battleships bristling with weapons that could crack planets. It was a force of unimaginable power, built over centuries by a species that had learned to fear the unknown. "We have 12 million vessels in total," Tay said quietly. "We have 200 billion soldiers. We have weapons you cannot imagine and defenses you cannot break. We are not the weak species you thought we were." He turned off the hologram. The chamber was silent as death. "Now," Tay said, his voice returning to its normal gentle tone, "let us discuss your demands again. You want us to surrender. You want us to give up our freedom. You want us to bow before the mighty Galactic Council." He shook his head slowly. "No, we decline. We will not surrender. We will not submit. But we are not looking for conquest. We have no desire to rule the galaxy. We only want to live in peace." He looked at Counselor Vex. "The Valari attacked us without cause. We defended ourselves. That should be the end of it. But if you press for more, if you insist on war, you will find that we are very good at fighting. Our history is filled with conflicts. We have been practicing for a very long time." Counselor Mira spoke up, her light form flickering nervously. "What do you propose, Ambassador?" "I propose peace," Tay said. "True peace, built on mutual respect. The Valari will apologize for their unprovoked attack. They will pay compensation to the families who lost loved ones. In return, We will not seek revenge. We will forget the past and look toward the future. And if we refuse? Vex growled. If we call your bluff and attack with everything we have? Tay met his gaze without flinching. Then 12 million human warships will answer. And when the war is over, there will be no Valari Empire. There will be no Galactic Council. There will only be silence and ash. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Vex looked into the human's eyes and saw no fear, no doubt, only absolute certainty. This small creature in his simple black suit was not lying. He was not bluffing. He was stating facts as calmly as if he were reading a weather report. Councillor Thren raised one of his clawed limbs. Perhaps we should discuss this further before making any decisions. There is much to consider. Other councillors murmured in agreement. The fire had gone out of their eyes. They had come to this meeting thinking they would witness the humiliation of a weak species. Instead, they had discovered a sleeping giant, and they had almost awakened it. Vex sat down slowly. His pride was wounded, but he was not stupid. He had lost this battle. Fighting more would only lead to destruction. The Valari will consider your proposal, he said through gritted teeth. We require time to consult with our government. Tay nodded graciously. Of course. Take all the time you need. We are patient people. He bowed slightly to the chamber master. Thank you for this opportunity to address the council. I hope that our next meeting will be more pleasant. The stars above Titan burned cold and distant. Admiral Yuna stood on the bridge of the warship Dawn's Edge, her hands clasped behind her back. She watched the darkness of space through the wide viewing window. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. Admiral, said Lieutenant Jisoo, looking up from her console. We have incoming signals. Multiple contacts. They are not ours. Yuna turned slowly. Her face showed no fear. She had served in the fleet for 23 years. She had seen many things, but she had never seen what appeared on the screen now. Ships, hundreds of them. They came out of hyperspace like wolves emerging from shadows. Their hulls were dark purple, covered in strange symbols that glowed with pale light. The Valari Empire had finally come. How many? Yuna asked. Jisoo's fingers moved across the controls. Her voice was steady, but Yuna could see her hands shaking slightly. 800 vessels, Admiral. Warships, all of them. Yuna nodded. She walked to her command chair and sat down. The leather was cold against her uniform. Around her, the crew of the Dawn's Edge waited. They looked at her with trust in their eyes. She was their leader. She would tell them what to do. Send a message to all ships in the defense fleet, Yuna said. Tell them to prepare for battle. We protect Titan. We protect our people. The human colony on Titan was home to 3 million souls. Miners, scientists, families, children. They had built their lives on this frozen moon. They had made it their home. Yuna would not let them die. The Valari ships moved closer. They flew in perfect formation, like a flock of deadly birds. Their weapons began to glow with energy. They did not send any message. They did not ask for surrender. They simply came to destroy. All ships, engage, Yuna commanded. The battle began with fire. Human ships surged forward. There were only 200 of them against 800 enemies. The numbers were bad. But humans had never cared much about numbers. The first wave of missiles flew from the human fleet. They crossed the dark space in seconds and hit the Valari ships with tremendous force. Explosions bloomed like orange flowers against the purple hulls. 3 enemy ships broke apart. Then 5 more. The Valari seemed surprised. They had expected easy prey. They had heard stories about humans, a young species from a small blue planet. They thought humans would be weak. They thought wrong. Press the attack, Yuna ordered. Do not give them time to think. Captain Minho commanded the destroyer Iron Wolf. His ship dove straight into the enemy formation. His weapons fired without stopping. He destroyed 4 Valari ships before they could react. His crew cheered with each kill, but the Valari were not fools. They recovered quickly. Their ships regrouped and began to return fire. Green energy beams cut through space. They were powerful, strong enough to slice through metal like it was paper. The human ship Braveheart took a direct hit. Its shields failed. The hull cracked open, and the crew inside had only seconds before the cold vacuum of space took them. Yuna watched the ship die on her screen. She felt the loss like a wound in her chest. But she could not stop. Not now. Evasive maneuvers, she commanded. All ships, keep moving. A still target is a dead target. The battle continued for hours. Then days. Then weeks. The Valari had more ships, but humans had something else. They had anger. They had determination. They had the will to fight until their last breath. Commander Sujin led a squad of small fighter craft. They were fast and nimble, able to dodge the slow-moving Valari weapons. She flew her ship through the gaps in the enemy formation, dropping bombs on their larger vessels. Her squad destroyed 12 ships in one day. For Titan, she shouted into her radio. Her pilots echoed her cry. On the ground of Titan, the colonists watched the battle in the sky. They could see the flashes of light, the explosions, the trails of destroyed ships falling like meteors. They prayed for their defenders. They sent messages of hope and courage. Youngjun was only 16 years old. He worked in the communications center, helping to relay messages between the fleet and the colony. He did not sleep for 5 days. He stayed at his post, sending and receiving, making sure the soldiers above knew they were not alone. "Tell Admiral Yuna," said his supervisor, a tired old man named Kano. "Tell her that we believe in her. Tell her that we are proud." June sent the message. Minutes later, a reply came back. It was short. It said, "We will not fail you." The 3rd week of the battle was the worst. The human fleet had lost many ships. Only 87 remained. The Valari still had over 300. But something strange began to happen. The Valari started to hesitate. They had expected to win quickly. They had expected humans to surrender or die. But humans kept fighting. No matter how many fell, the others continued. They did not run. They did not beg. They fought like demons. Admiral Yuna led the final push herself. The Dawn's Edge was damaged. Half its weapons were destroyed. But Yuna flew her ship directly at the Valari flagship. Her crew fired everything they had. "If we die today," Yuna said to her people, "we die with honor. We die protecting our home." The Valari flagship tried to retreat, but it was too slow. Human missiles struck its engines, then its shields, then its bridge. The massive ship exploded in a ball of white fire. The Valari commander died without ever understanding how he had lost. After that, the remaining Valari ships fled. They jumped into hyperspace and disappeared. The battle was over. Titan was saved. Admiral Yuna sat in her chair, exhausted beyond words. Her uniform was torn. Her face was covered in sweat and smoke. But she smiled. A small, tired smile. "Report our losses," she said quietly. Jisu's voice was soft. 113 ships destroyed, Admiral. 42,600 crew members lost. Yuna closed her eyes. So many gone. So many brave souls who would never see their families again. She would remember them. She would honor them. And the enemy? 712 Valari ships destroyed. The rest retreated. Around the bridge, the surviving crew members looked at each other. They had won. Against impossible odds, against a superior force, they had won. On Titan, the colonists emerged from their shelters. They looked up at the sky and saw the wreckage of the battle floating among the stars. They cried. They laughed. They held each other. Young June sent one final message to the fleet. It was simple. It said, "Thank you." Far away, in the heart of the galaxy, the Valari Empire received the news of their defeat. Their leaders were shocked. Their people were afraid. They had sent their finest fleet to conquer a small moon, and they had been crushed. They did not understand. How could such a young species fight so hard? How could they defeat the mighty Valari? The answers would come later. And when they did, the Valari would learn the true meaning of fear. But that is a story for another time. The Galactic Council Chamber was the largest room in the known universe. It sat at the center of Station Prime, a massive structure built thousands of years ago by species long forgotten. The chamber was shaped like a great bowl, with seats rising up in circles around the central platform. Each seat belonged to a different species. Each species had a voice in the affairs of the galaxy. Today, the chamber was full. Representatives from 12 major civilizations had gathered. They had come to discuss one thing: the humans. Counselor Vex stood at his seat. He was a Valari, tall and thin with pale purple skin and 4 arms. His eyes were black like the void between stars. He was angry. His people had suffered a great defeat, and he wanted answers. The humans must be punished, he declared. His voice echoed through the chamber. They attacked our fleet without warning. They destroyed hundreds of our ships. This is an act of war. Murmurs spread through the room. Other counselors whispered to each other. They had heard stories about the battle at Titan, but the details were unclear. Some said the humans had used forbidden weapons. Others said they had made deals with dark forces. No one knew the truth. At the bottom of the chamber, on the central platform, stood a single human. His name was Tay. He was Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council. He was not tall. He was not impressive to look at. He wore a simple black suit and had short dark hair. His face was calm, almost peaceful. Tay listened to Counselor Vex with patience. He did not interrupt. He did not show any emotion. He simply waited. "The human ambassador will speak," announced the chamber master, a small creature made of living crystal. Its voice rang like bells. Tay stepped forward. He looked up at the thousands of faces watching him. He was not afraid. "Thank you, chamber master," he said. His voice was soft but clear. "I am honored to address this council. I understand that there are concerns about recent events near Titan. I am here to explain." Counselor Vex slammed his 4 hands on his desk. "Explain? What is there to explain? Your people murdered our soldiers." Tay raised one hand slowly. "With respect, Counselor, I would like to ask a question first. Did your fleet announce itself before attacking our colony? Did it send any message asking for negotiation? Did it give our people any chance to surrender?" The chamber fell silent. Vex's black eyes narrowed. "That is not relevant. The Valari Empire has the right to expand. Your colony was in our path. So," Tay said gently, "your ships arrived without warning and began attacking our homes. They fired on civilian structures. They killed innocent people. And when we defended ourselves, you call it an act of war?" More whispers filled the chamber. Some counselors looked uncomfortable. The Draxi representative, a large being covered in green scales, shifted in his seat. "The human makes a fair point," said Counselor Myra of the Solani, a species of beings made of pure light. Her form flickered as she spoke. The Valari did not follow proper protocols. They did not seek council approval for expansion into human territory. Vex turned to her with fury. "The Solani dare to question the Valari? Your people hide in your stars and judge others. You know nothing of real power. Counselor Myra did not react to the insult. I know that this council exists to prevent exactly this kind of conflict. If every species attacked others without warning, there would be no peace in the galaxy. The debate continued for hours. Species argued with species. Old grudges surfaced. The chamber became loud and chaotic. Through it all, Tay remained still. He stood on the platform like a statue, watching and listening. He learned much from their arguments. He saw which species were friends and which were enemies. He understood the complex web of alliances and hatreds that held the galaxy together. Finally, the Chambermaster called for order. The room slowly quieted. "We must address the practical matter," said Councillor Thren of the Korthi, a species of insect-like beings with hard shells and many legs. The Valari fleet was destroyed. This is significant. The humans have shown that they are capable of great violence. "Agreed," said Councillor Vex, his anger now controlled. "The humans are dangerous. But we have also learned their weakness. Their entire fleet was gathered at Titan. They used everything they had. And what did they have? 200 ships." He smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "We lost this battle, yes. But we now know the extent of human power. They are weak. Their military is small. If we attack again with our full strength, they will fall." Other counselors nodded. The logic seemed sound. The humans had won a single battle, but they had shown their hand. They had nothing left. "What do you propose?" asked the Chambermaster. Vex stood straighter. "I propose that this council demands the unconditional surrender of Earth and all human colonies. They will submit to Valari authority. Their resources will be claimed. Their people will serve us. If they refuse, the combined fleets of the Council will destroy them." The chamber erupted in discussion. Many species liked this idea. The humans were newcomers to the galactic stage. They had not earned respect. They had not built alliances. They were alone. Tay watched the chaos with quiet eyes. Inside, his heart was beating fast. But he did not show it. He had been trained for this moment. He knew what he had to do. The Chambermaster turned to him. "Human Ambassador, you have heard the proposal. What is your response?" Tay took a deep breath. He thought of home. He thought of Earth with its blue oceans and green forests. He thought of his family, his friends, all the billions of people who were counting on him. He thought of Admiral Yuna and the brave soldiers who had given their lives at Titan. "I thank the Council for this opportunity to respond," he said. His voice was steady. "The proposal is clear. You want us to surrender. You want us to give up our homes, our freedom, our future. You believe that we are weak because we send only 200 ships to defend Titan." He paused. The chamber was completely silent now. Every eye was on him. "I must decline your proposal," Tay said simply. Councillor Vex laughed. It was a cold, harsh sound. "Decline? You have no choice, human. You cannot fight the combined power of this council. Your fleet is destroyed. Your military is broken. You have nothing left." Tay tilted his head slightly. "Is that what you believe?" "It is what we know," Vex replied. "Our intelligence reports are clear. The human fleet at Titan represented your entire naval strength. You have no more ships. You have no more soldiers. You are finished." The other counselors murmured in agreement. They felt confident. They felt powerful. They were the masters of the galaxy, and this small human was nothing before them. Tay smiled. It was a small smile, barely visible. But something in that smile made Councillor Vex pause. Something about the human's calm manner did not feel right. "I see," Tay said softly. "There has been a misunderstanding. I apologize for the confusion. Allow me to clarify. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. It was round and silver, no bigger than a coin. He pressed a button on its surface. Above the central platform, a hologram appeared. It showed a document covered in numbers and text. The writing was in human language, but translations appeared for each species. "This," Tai said, "is the official fleet registry of Earth's naval forces. What you see here is a list of our military assets." The counselors leaned forward to look. At first, they did not understand what they were seeing. The numbers were too large. They did not make sense. "The defense force at Titan was not our entire military," Tai continued. "It was the local patrol assigned to Station 7, one of 4,000 similar stations throughout human space." The chamber began to stir. Voices rose in confusion and disbelief. "Our combined naval strength," Tai said, his voice still calm and quiet, "is approximately 12 million vessels." Silence. Complete and total silence. Counselor Vex stared at the hologram. His forearms hung limp at his sides. His black eyes were wide with shock. "That is impossible," he whispered. Tai turned to face him. "I assure you, Counselor, it is quite possible. Humans have been preparing for this moment for a very long time. We knew that someday we would meet other species among the stars. We knew that not all of them would be friendly. So we built. We trained. We prepared." He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of every counselor. "You attacked our colony without warning. You killed our people. You thought we were weak. You were wrong." The hologram changed. It showed images of human ships, thousands upon thousands of them, gathered in massive fleets throughout human space. Battleships the size of mountains. Carriers filled with fighter craft. Weapons platforms bristling with deadly armaments. "We do not want war," Tai said. "We came to the stars hoping to find friends. But we will not be conquered. We will not surrender. And if you threaten our people again, you will learn the true meaning of human determination." He pressed the button again, and the hologram disappeared. The chamber remained silent. No one knew what to say. Counselor Vex sat down slowly. His face had gone pale. He understood now. The Valari had made a terrible mistake. They had awakened something they could not control. The human ambassador stood alone on the central platform, surrounded by the most powerful beings in the galaxy. He was not afraid. He never had been. "Are there any more questions?" Tai asked politely. There were none.